Um, I just made a video on how I taught my summer class online during this COVID-19 epidemic. But I haven't. I realized that there were a few things I didn't mention, so I thought I'd make the second video to give you some hints on how to teach online. Um, if you have PowerPoints, you can show your PowerPoints and then comment on each of them um, to for your lecture. But if you don't have PowerPoints, almost every textbook has an online version. For example, or you can find free textbooks like this one here for geology. Um, and then I just wanted to show you how I would do one of these lectures. Let's say I was doing plate tectonics. I'd click on my PowerPoint or go here and I would say, okay, plate tectonics. What's plate tectonics about? Well, these are the things that you need to know. Let's talk about Alfred Wegner and Continental Drift. Well, back in 1912, Alfred Wegner, and then I would go over here and say, I love using Google Images. Alfred Wegner. Who is this German guy? Well, back in 1912, Alfred Wegner, here he is, came up with a new theory called Continental Drift. And Continental Drift, what Wegner postulated was that the continents fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. And he called this continent, and then I would go over here to notes, Pangea. And so I would type it in Pangea. Why did Alfred Wegener think that the continents were once connected together? It's because the continents fit, the coastlines of the world fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. And since the continents are no longer together, Wegener postulated that the continents have drifted apart into their present day positions. And I always use, I don't want to talk in a monotone voice. See how important that is? That means the continents can move. And this old idea of permanism that many people subscribed to prior to Wegener was that the continents could not move and have always been in the position that they are in today. But Wegener put it like this. It's just as if you took the torn up remnants of a newspaper and put them together. If the lines of print run smoothly across, one can only assume that those continents were once together. So, ladies and gentlemen, this would lead to plate tectonics. Wegener's idea back in 1912, called Continental Drift, would lead directly to the development of plate tectonics in the 1960s. So that's the way I do the lectures. Is I try to make it not monotone, show them how exciting plate tectonics is and geology is and what it has to do with their everyday lives. Keep their attention. And you can use PowerPoints, you can use your online textbook, Google Images. Another piece of evidence, another problem that you will be faced with, you will face, is since we're teaching online during this pandemic, we're going to have to be sending emails every day to our students. And inevitably, what's going to happen is that some students aren't going to get those emails. Why? Because their email box is full. Then what do? Well, where I teach, there's ways of looking up the students' telephone numbers. And then you have to text them or call them and ask them to clear out their inbox, their email inbox. That's real important. I had to mention it many times during the semester. Otherwise, they'll say, oh, I didn't get that message that there was going to be a test. Or I didn't get the message saying that the lab was due at that time. So whenever you're sending messages to your students, make sure that you ask them to clear out their email inboxes. Also, um, in your messages, make sure your students know that they care about your educational experience. So if you have any problems at all or anything you don't understand, you email me. I check my email inbox several times during the day. You'll never have to wait 24 hours to receive a response from me. And so that way you can sort of build a little bit of a rapport with your students. Um, the other thing is, if you want to show videos in your class, don't use QuickTime to do that because, as I mentioned before, a 1 hour video is going to take you an hour and a half to change it from using Handbrake, which I talked about in my previous video. You definitely need Handbrake if you're going to set up a YouTube channel. And let me show you what Handbrake does. This is your file. After you push this button right here, then it stops recording, and then it'll save your whatever you did on your lecture in an .mov file. You go to Handbrake to convert it to an MP4 file. And I forgot to mention that during my last video. And you don't want to download your MOV file. It's going to take you forever. Use your MP4 file, download it onto your YouTube channel. Now, it's real important that first it's going to upload. It's going to tell you, for example, I'm downloading this one right here, and you can see. Well, I'm not downloading yet. I'm changing the Handbrake right now. I'm using Handbrake to change it from a MOV to MP4 file. And once this is done, then you take that MP4 file, download it onto your YouTube channel. First it will upload. Do not quit then or you lose your video. You got to wait till it's finished processing. Have patience. It will finish processing. Once it's finished processing, it will be uploaded onto your YouTube channel. And it works. I've taught this way online. I got lots of compliments from students on the class. And you really also need to make sure that there are no distractions around you when you're doing your online classes. Don't have your dog jumping on you, or you having to take a break to go to the bathroom, or getting a bite to eat, or smoking a cigarette. Make sure that you know before you start that video exactly what you're going to talk about in your mind. I'm going to talk about Alfred Wegner and Continental Drift, and how World War I and World War II affected the testing of Alfred Wegner's hypothesis, and how after World War II ended, people started to explore the oceans and gain additional information supporting this new Wegner's idea, and then how that led to plate tectonics. Know what you're going to talk about. Then once you're not tired, you're not distracted, you can give a good video, a good lecture, then push the start button on QuickTime, make your video, push the stop button to end your video, use Handbrake to change your MOV to your MP4 file, upload your MP4 file, and email your students to let them know that those files are available. Also, encourage your students to subscribe to your YouTube channel so that they'll get automatically updated on new videos. But that can't take the place of email. You got to email your students constantly. Some of your students are going to love it, and they're not going to have any problems. Others are going to have problems, and you're going to have to work with them on that. So those are the things I forgot to mention in my last video, but I wish you the best of luck in teaching online during this COVID-19 crisis. And the reason I made this video is to share my experiences, and so that you won't have to go through all the things that I went through in order to teach this online class. I'm saving all of these videos. They're on my YouTube channel. All of my quiz and test materials so that this semester I could just dig them out. It'll take a lot less time to do it. The biggest challenge is the rocks and minerals. I talked about that if you're in geology. Anything that students have to do hands-on, if you're biology or chemistry or whatever you're doing, you might need to be creative. And also, my previous video, I talked about how to prevent cheating by scrambling the questions and limiting the time period they could take the test. So I hope this has been useful to you, and hope you all have a good day.